Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Thursday. Coming to you after some Royals baseball this afternoon. They were in a hurry to finish up that three-game set between the Royals and the Mariners at Kauffman Stadium. Luis Castillo and Stephen Kolek pitching like they were double parked. A pitcher's duel at the K. Unfortunately, it goes Seattle's way. 2-0 the final score. Royals drop the series as they continue to limp towards their inevitable elimination from the playoff race. We'll talk a little Royals baseball, plenty of Chiefs, some local sports, two great guests coming up on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. My name's Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis will be in a bit. Brendan Dworzynski is off today. That's his reward for winning the arm wrestling match yesterday. In case you missed the fun, the shenanigans on yesterday's program, it's now up solo, just on its own. You don't have to go digging through yesterday's episode of 580 Sports Talk to find what we have dubbed, and again, huge thanks to McFly Cowboy for helping us, leading us to this name of our arm wrestling match, the Thrilla on Huntoon Hilla. Myself and Brendan Dworzynski arm wrestled yesterday, and I beat him with my left hand, my dominant hand. Fairly short order, I should note. I'm the one narrating the story here. I get to tell it my way. I whooped him decent with my left arm. I held my own with my right arm, but that is his dominant arm, and he ultimately was able to wear me down. We went to a tiebreaker, thumb wrestling. He won the coin flip, so it was a right-handed thumb wrestling match, and I truly believe that is what led more directly to my demise than his true strength or dexterity superiority. I just think he had a handedness advantage. But, hey, that's the way the rules are, right? Like, nobody crying for Josh Allen after the 13 seconds game. Should have won the coin flip. Your defense should have gotten a stop, right? That's how it works. So it goes in arm wrestling. But if you missed any of that fun yesterday, that is up on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk. We are broadcasting live there on our YouTube channel today. Hope you will join us over there. Also on Facebook, WIBW News. And, of course, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, and 580WIBW.com. To be completely honest with you, we usually anticipate a 3-hour window for the Royals Baseball Network broadcast from first pitch to sign off. We generally assume that's going to be a 3-ish hour window. And so we prepared today a 2-hour show. And what we've ended up with is a 2-hour and 7-minute show. So I don't have a lot to give you right now, to be completely honest, other than a recap of the arm wrestling and a preview of today's episode of 580 Sports Talk. So that's what I'm going to give you here in this little short interstitial before we really get revved up in the 4 o'clock hour. In the 4 o'clock hour, we'll talk a little more Royals baseball. Royals lost today. They lost the series. They won last night, snapping the 10-game Mariner winning streak. There are good things happening for the Royals right now that augur really well for them in 2026 and beyond. And we'll talk about a few of those. One of those today, the performance of Stephen Kolek on the hill. He was outstanding. 7 1/3 innings and only allowed 2 runs on a technicality. You could hear the contempt dripping from Matt Quatrero's voice talking about that challenge that overturned a routine ground out and turned it into an error on Michael Massey because his right heel or left spike was in the grass when the pitch was thrown. It was nonsense. And the Mariners ought to be embarrassed that they challenged that. I don't care that it earned him a run. This is lame. Nobody celebrated Walter Sobchak for waving a gun at Smokey for being over the line in the Big Lebowski, right? Like, we don't admire Walter for being a stickler, for being the only one who gives a you-know-what about the rules. No, we just think he's an idiot. So we think of Dan Wilson today. It was stupid. Waste of everyone's time. Anyhow, get into that. We'll talk some Chiefs football today. Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, will join us at 5:25, as he always does during the football season. Looking forward to hearing from Mitch, getting his thoughts on the Chiefs as they head to New York to take on the Giants on Sunday Night Football this week. More limited practice for Xavier Worthy. Jalen Royals a full participant today. Do the Chiefs need Xavier Worthy to win on Sunday. We'll talk through that as well. And we'll get into some local sports with Rick Peterson from TopSports.news. Covers all things Shawnee County High School sports in the Washburn Ichabods. And we'll have our weekly chat with Pistol. Usually we'd be having it right now. We're going to have it at 4:35 instead of 3:35 today for obvious reasons. So 2 great guests coming up. Little baseball talk. We'll talk some Chiefs. We'll do What Is Wrong With You. We'll do our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll have a really good time on this shortened edition of the program. So we hope you'll hang with us through this quick timeout and the news break at the top of the hour. And then we will fling ourselves into regularly scheduled 580 Sports Talk programming here on the show today. My name is Dan Lucero. This is 580 Sports Talk. Come back with us here on 580 WIBW. Let's get it. This is the first full hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday afternoon. Greetings and salutations. Thanks for being here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. My name is Dan Lucero. I will be the voice you predominantly hear today. Brendan Wrzinski is taking the day off. He exerted a lot of energy in winning his arm wrestling match. We split the arm wrestling, okay? He won a thumb war because it was his dominant hand against my non-dominant hand because he won the coin flip. I just want that on the record. He did not beat me at arm wrestling. We tied. There. You can go watch it for yourself. It's on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. It's on the YouTube page. Anyway, Brendan's off today. Spencer Dupuis will check in for What Is Wrong With You. Spencer's a busy boy tonight. Once What Is Wrong With You is over, he's going to head out to Hummer Sports Park. We've got some Thursday night 580 Preps football for you tonight here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Week 3 of the high school football season in the Sunflower State kicking off tonight as Topeka High aims for a 3-0 start. The Trojans playing host to the Golden Buffaloes of Wichita Southeast. We'll start our pregame coverage following 580 Sports Talk overtime. Kickoff is set for 7 o'clock from Hummer. And Spencer Dupuis will be on the play-by-play with yours truly, providing astute color analysis. Well, I shouldn't say it's astute. That should be left up to you, the listener. But anyway, Spencer and I will be on the broadcast tonight. Spencer's getting some last-minute prep done, and he's going to hop in for What Is Wrong With You, and then he's going to head over to Hummer and get all set up for some football tonight. So that's what you have to look forward to here tonight on the Sports Voice of Kansas. Means we'll have a lot of 580 Sports Talk overtime. If you're curious as to what Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy had to say at their media availability today, hang out through overtime, and you'll hear it here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Coming up on the show today, 2 guests. Bottom of this hour, Rick Peterson, TopSports.news, going to join us. Get Pistol's take on Shawnee County High School athletics and the Washburn Ichabods. Great stuff going up daily over at TopSports.news. If you're within the sound of my voice and you're not checking that site out daily, you're missing out on the good stuff and the good information. TopSports.news. Coming up at 5:25, Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, will join me for our weekly conversation and get Mitch's take as the 0-2 Chiefs head out to New York, well, really New Jersey, for their Week 3 Sunday night football primetime showdown against the New York Giants. And a stat that he brought up on Chiefs Kingdom with Patrick Mahomes on Monday night, which you heard right here on 580 WIBW, the Chiefs have never won at the Giants. That is a true statement. In their entire history, the Chiefs have never won a road game against the New York Football Giants. It's flabbergasting, right? How many of you remember the last time the Chiefs played at the Giants? Patrick remembered. He was on the team, though he was not playing. This was 2017, so it was Alex Smith's last year as a starter. And when I thought about it, you know what the first thing I thought about was? I thought about Travis Kelce throwing an interception in the red zone in that game. I don't know if it was exactly in the red zone. I'd have to actually go look at the box score. But I remember Travis Kelce threw an interception in that game, and it was one of the reasons that the Chiefs lost at the Giants. But I did not recall that being another loss for the Chiefs at the Giants, that they never managed to win a road game against the Giants. That's absolutely wild. Anyhow, we'll get Mitch's thoughts on that. We'll talk some more Chiefs a little bit later on in the show today. Got What Is Wrong With You? We got 580 Sports Talk headlines. Want to hear from you. We might be a little shorter today, coming on a little later, but we still want to hear from you on the text line. 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. You can also hop in to the live chat on our YouTube stream. If you are watching the show live on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. There is a live chat which you can participate in, whether you're on the mobile device of your choice or on the web browser. Just hop in. Type whatever you want in there. Say hello. Introduce yourself. Have some fun with your fellow listeners. Grow the 580 Sports Talk community over at the YouTube live chat. Again, 580 Sports Talk, the name of that YouTube channel. And if you haven't yet subscribed, you've got proof of concept now that we put our money where our mouth is. We said 800 subscribers, we'll arm wrestle. We got there, we arm wrestled. Now 900 subscribers, that's our next stretch goal, 900 subscribers, we will do 580 Sports Talk karaoke. We will take listener submissions for songs to perform. We'll all draw one, all three of us will draw one out of a hat, and we'll all sing for you. 580 Sports Talk karaoke. That will happen. But you got to get us 900 subscribers first. So if you've been on the fence, if you were thinking, I don't want to be one of the first 800, I'll believe they'll really live up to their promises when I see it. Well, we did. So hold out no longer. Hop in and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything but a click over on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Royals lose this afternoon 2-0. They won last night. That was notable because nobody had beaten the Mariners for a while. Starting to wonder if those Etsy witches had like powers beyond even regular human comprehension. But their 10-game winning streak was snapped last night as the Royals defeated them 7-5. It took a rally to do it. 4 runs in the 8th, the go-ahead home run by, of all people, Adam Frazier. But then the rally continued by a couple of the young guys. Jack Caglione doubled following Frazier's homer, and Carter Jensen singled him in. Bobby Witt Jr. drove in a run later in that inning as well to make it 7-4. Carlos Estevez allowed a run in the 9th, but finished things off for his 40th save of the season. And the Royals tried to back that today, and you can't blame Stephen Kolek. He was wonderful in the loss today. 7 1/3 innings, a career-high 8 strikeouts. As a Royal, since he was acquired from San Diego and since he was called up and has made now 4 starts for the Royals, he's pitched 27 innings in those 4 starts. So first and foremost, right there, that's really good. He's averaging over 6 innings per start. That's stellar. A 1.67 ERA. That's really good. Hasn't allowed a home run. 19 strikeouts. It's a little low in 27 innings. It's not, that's not dominant. That's not like what you'd expect to see from like a frontline ace. Let's not overreact to what we're seeing here. But 19 strikeouts and 3, count them, 3 walks. 3 walks in 27 innings. That dog will hunt. What do we talk about? Run prevention for a pitcher. 3 things you can do to give yourself a chance to keep a low ERA. Strike out a bunch of guys. Don't walk anybody. Keep it in the ballpark. If you do 2 out of those 3 things, you're going to be really good. And Stephen Kolek has done 2 of those 3 things for the Royals this season, and really was doing those things as a Royal better than he was doing them with San Diego. If you go back and you look at his 14 starts he made with the Padres this season, he'd allowed close to a home run per 9, and he had walked close to 3 batters per 9. Now, obviously, 4 starts is a smaller sample size than 14 starts, but genuine improvement from Kolek since putting on the Royal Blue. And you can say the same for his former Padre and now current Royal teammate Ryan Bergert, who we probably won't see the rest of the way. He was placed on the injured list today, dealing with a little forearm tightness. That always kind of makes you cringe because forearm tightness can often be a sign of some elbow trouble. So a little bit of concern there, certainly, but hopefully it's something that if he's taken off the mound, it doesn't exacerbate. It can heal itself with a little rest and rehab. and Ryan Bergert can be back out there building on his successful second half with the Royals in 2026. And I mentioned the starting pitching right off the bat. Number one, because it was the thing that happened in today's game that was good. But the Royals find themselves in good shape going into 2026 with guys who've had big league success in their uniform and are under contract for a long time. All of a sudden, you're not just talking about depth. You're talking about controllable depth. And what I mean when I say controllable is under team control, pre-arbitration control. Ryan Bergert is pre-arbitration. Stephen Kolek is pre-arbitration. Noah Cameron is pre-arbitration. Cole Ragans got locked up. Seth Lugo signed his extension this season. Michael Wacha signed his contract before last year. That's 6 guys who I think you can feel a reasonable amount of confidence in. Now, Ragans is the only one of those guys with ace ceiling, but all of those guys can take the ball and make a bunch of starts and give you some innings and give you a chance to win. They're bona fide big league caliber starting pitchers. You're not scraping the bowl here. That's 6 guys who can get that job done for you. Where this year, we were going into the season, we were really going into the offseason, kind of wondering, well, geez, they're going to need to, Michael Wacha is going to probably opt out of his deal, and there's no guarantee that he's going to come back. And Michael Lorenzen kind of filled in at the end because Alec Marsh was just okay, and Lorenzen's going to be a free agent. And then what of Marsh? And then the Royals re-signed Lorenzen, and they not really extended, but they re-signed Wacha. And so they came into the season, and you felt good again about their depth. They felt so good about their depth that they traded Brady Singer, right? They traded from strength to upgrade their offense, or to try and upgrade their offense. That was the thought. I think, and I haven't looked at Brady Singer's numbers recently, but it's not a stretch to assume that he has probably done more for the Reds to contribute to winning this year than Jonathan India has done to contribute to winning for the Royals. And according to Baseball Reference War, it's not even close. In fact, this is Brady Singer's best season since 2022. He's been better than he was last year, according to B-War. His strikeout rate has remained roughly the same. He's dropped his home run rate a tick, and he's won a bunch of games. He's 14-10 this year. Career high in wins for Brady Singer. He's had a nice year in Cincinnati. That's probably gone under the radar a little bit because Cincinnati hasn't really been a contender, but it's had a nice year. 3.5 wins above replacement. Jonathan India, half a win above replacement. Royals lost that trade. It happens. So they felt good enough about their depth to trade from strength because they had Cole Ragans and Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha ready to rock and roll in the rotation. They re-signed Lorenzen. And then the 5th spot, they figure, well, we've got some options there. We can fill that space. Alec Marsh should be back, and maybe Chris Bubich convert to the starting rotation, or Daniel Lynch is going to get a crack at it. We should get Kyle Wright healthy. Is guy who's won 20 games in the bigs, which those don't grow on trees anymore these days. You felt like you were spoiled for choice. And then we never saw Kyle Wright, and we never saw Alec Marsh. So forget about that. Daniel Lynch ended up being a reliever and not a particularly good one, so never mind on that. Bubich hit. Bubich made the all-star team. And then Noah Cameron was a wonderful success story. But then he only got, after last night, 11 starts from Cole Ragans and 20-odd starts from Seth Lugo, where you'd gotten 30-plus from both of those guys last year. It goes to show you that you need depth. You need lots of depth. You need depth that you can have a credible starting pitcher, a guy who you would trust to be a big league starting pitcher pitching down at AAA or being your swingman up at the big league level. You have to have that if you want to contend. The Royals ended up with that in maybe a different way than they had pictured, but they'll go into next year kind of feeling in the same boat. They'll have 6 guys that they feel pretty good at. Now, Chris Bubich will have to get healthy. Optimistic that he can. Ryan Bergert will have to be healthy. We'll see about the forearm tightness and what that ends up portending. And then you'd like to believe, right? Hey, Kyle Wright, I think, is still going to be in the organization. Maybe a year removed, a full year out of that shoulder surgery. Maybe the worm can turn for him next year. Alec Marsh maybe can be healthy. He's been a guy who's won you games at the big league level. That can be more AAA depth. Luwinder Avila, who's shown some promise at the big league level. Maybe you convert him back to being a starting pitcher. And the lower levels of the minor leagues are starting to bear promising pitching fruit as well. So now there's talk, and some of you were discussing it in the YouTube chat, that maybe this offseason, with a seeming plethora of pitchers and a lack of offense on hand, that it might behoove the Royals to make a move and deal a pitcher for offense. And the name that came up from Andrew in the YouTube comments was Noah Cameron. Cameron's got, I think he might even have the full 6 years of team control. I'm going to double check that, because he came up after the Super 2 deadline. So, yeah, his rookie status is intact through the year. I don't think this year counts for him service time-wise. I think his clock starts next year with 3 pre-arbitration years and 3 arbitration years. That's 6 years of team control. 6 years of Noah Cameron for the low, if you will. That's pretty valuable, particularly if Noah Cameron is indeed the kind of guy who can pitch to an ERA below 3, which he has done in 22 starts this season. The fielding independent numbers paint a less rosy picture because he's not a bat misser, because he's been a little home run prone at times. His fielding independent ERA this year is 4.21. Suggesting that there has been more than a little good fortune in Noah Cameron's outstanding rookie season. But it's also his rookie season. He can get better. His strikeouts ticked up as he went on later in the season. And if he can limit home runs a little bit more, limit that long ball, which is something you always believe a Royals pitcher can do, pitching at Kauffman Stadium for half their starts, then he can make some real improvements next year. And even if he's just a guy who puts an ERA in the mid to high 3s, those guys are super freaking valuable. Super valuable. Especially when you don't have to pay him more than a league minimum or a pre-arbitration salary. So the argument then goes, well, Noah Cameron would be the most valuable guy the Royals could trade because he's so valuable, because he's got that kind of promise. There is that much team control. And if you took him out of the picture for next year's rotation, you'd still have Cole Ragans, 2024 All-Star, Chris Bubich, 2025 All-Star, Seth Lugo, 2024 All-Star, Michael Wacha, and then either Ryan Bergert or Stephen Kolek. Feel pretty good about that 5/6 guys. You would. It's true. But I don't think Cameron's the most likely guy to move. I think if the Royals are going to trade a starting pitcher this offseason, it's going to be Chris Bubich. And I say that for the same reason that it was always likely that if they traded a pitcher last year, it was going to be Brady Singer. Less team control. Less of a chance that Chris Bubich has a lot of years left in a Royals uniform. In fact, I believe Chris Bubich is a free agent following the 2026 season. That's correct. He is a free agent following 2026. So 1 year of team control left. The Royals could certainly try to sign him to a long-term contract. There's money in the banana stand. They could afford it. But they could have afforded to sign Brady Singer, too. Instead, they moved Singer, and they added a player who they felt like was going to jumpstart their offense. And unfortunately, that didn't really happen for Jonathan India this year. A lot went wrong for Jonathan India. A lot of personal challenges, a lot of physical challenges. It never quite clicked for India. I thought the process behind the deal was sound. The result sometimes doesn't work out the way you want it to. But to me, Bubich is the guy that I would think this offseason there would be more buzz about trading than it would be Noah Cameron. Because for a team that is a smaller market team, guys who are pre-arbitration but perform at the level that Noah Cameron performed at. Noah Cameron actually, according to Baseball Reference, wins above replacement, has been more valuable this year than Brady Singer. 3.6 wins above replacement to 3.5. So if you can perform at that level and you're making a pre-arbitration salary, that's gold. That's manna from heaven for a team in the Royals' financial situation, let's say. So I don't think they're moving off of Noah Cameron. I don't think they're going to move one of their guys who theoretically they could send down to the minor leagues if they were to struggle for whatever reason. They're not going to move a guy who they're not going to pay a lot of money to theoretically perform at a high level. If they're going to move anybody, it's probably going to be Bubic. But that's a conversation for another day. Stephen Kolek is the story of the day. He was really good. The command has been excellent for him. He probably isn't much more than a mid-rotation arm, but you can build a rotation full of mid-rotation guys and be really, really successful. And the Royals just kind of keep stockpiling guys who look really good as your 3 through 5 in a starting rotation. They've already got their one. They got their number one. That's Ragans. And man, I know he gave up the home run in the second inning, but the first inning last night, that was the best inning I think any Royals pitcher has thrown all season. He was unbelievable. His fastball was exploding. You watched that and you thought, man, how much different could this summer have looked if that could have been every 5 days? Made you a little wistful. Made me a little wistful anyway. I love watching Cole Ragans pitch. I'm glad he's back. Looking forward to more of him in 2026. Looking forward to more Stephen Kolek in 2026. Looking forward to more Carter Jensen in 2026. That's where they're at now, unfortunately. I do not know what today's loss did for their elimination number. It looks like it took it down to 3, pending. Well, shoot. If Seattle's in a tie, actually took the elimination number down to 2. Oh, too bad. Fall's coming faster than you'd like. But still some good signs for the future for the Royals. No question about that. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, it's What Is Wrong With You time on 580 WIBW. It is time for What Is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk. 2 new stories competing today, trying to take down our current weekly winner. That is the original Odd Couple, 2 older gentlemen who've had a long-standing beef despite being roommates, or probably because of being roommates for several years. And one of them tried to end the beef by shooting the other with a crossbow. Clipped his ear is what it sounds like. It's a line from a Simpsons episode where you remember the character Troy McClure, voiced by the late great Bill Hartman, one of many great characters on that show voiced by Phil Hartman. Probably my favorite. Did I say Bill Hartman? A bad job by me. Phil Hartman. My favorite was probably Lionel Hutz, the lawyer. I moved for a bad court thingy. Anyway, I'm sorry. I could sit here and quote Simpsons all day. Anyway, it was an interview that the character Troy McClure, the washed up actor, is doing. I think it's on it's meant to be on like a TV broadcast. And he's talking about his new TV show, and he describes it as, we're the original Odd Couple. And it strikes me how funny that is, because the original Odd Couple would be The Odd Couple, which was a very famous television show and movie. So that always cracked me up. And it got funnier as I got older. We're the original Odd Couple. So these guys, that's what we're calling them. The original Odd Couple, even though they're not. That's still Felix and Oscar. Anyway, 2 new stories today. That was a long way. That was a long exculpatory or explanatory saying that only means something to people who still, like me, worship a TV show that was last good in 2005. Spencer, what is your story today?
While placing the turtle eggs into evidence bag, deputies said they found a marijuana bowl on the ground near the van. The deputies asked Winters if he had narcotics on his person. Winters said, quote, "Not that I'm aware of," end quote, and gave deputies consent to search the vehicle. Methamphetamine, fentanyl, marijuana, and alprazolam. It's some kind of pill.
Alprazolam
Pills were found in Winters' vehicle, according to the deputies. He was arrested for possession of multiple controlled substances. A Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission officer arrived on scene and began investigating the possession of the sea turtle eggs. Winters told deputies the eggs came from 2 nests that had eroded away, and he picked up the eggs after seeing them washed down the beach. He believed they were non-viable. Florida Wildlife Conservation is charging Winters with 5 misdemeanor counts of knowingly possessing 11 or fewer marine turtle eggs, and 5 felony counts of taking, disturbing, manipulating, or destroying marine turtle eggs.
So 11 or fewer is the classification. So if you have a dozen, then you're in real trouble.
Yeah. But yes, this guy was just driving around with turtle eggs.
Also, alprazolam, better known as Xanax.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
So that's what he had. He had meth, fent, weed, Xanax. He's having a party.
It sounds like he was either having a party or a drug dealer.
Yeah, it could be that too. For my story today, this story is so stupid.
I saw this story and wanted to use it for what it's worth.
We're going to Akron, Ohio, where an Akron Public Schools employee has been suspended after selling the school's lawnmowers on Facebook Marketplace. It's so stupid. Anyway, according to the agenda from the school board meeting on Monday, Administrator Stephen Keenan traded in 11 APS lawnmowers to a vendor without the board's approval so he could buy new lawnmowers. He then bought 7 of the traded in lawnmowers under a friends and family discount with the vendor. He paid $5,693.32 for these 7 lawnmowers. So, okay, traded in 11, bought 7. Now they're down 4. Then he listed 5 of those lawnmowers for sale, asking for a total sales price of $14,700. So he was trying to sell 5. So they were going to be down 9 lawnmowers, but he was going to be up about $9,000. The APS school board is considering firing Keenan under a recommendation from the superintendent because he violated the staff's code of ethics. He has been suspended without pay. What kind of galaxy brain nonsense is this? I know how to make some money. I got a lawnmower scam I'm going to run on the school district. 11. So I don't know, like, if that every school has a lawnmower or if, like, just the district has them and they do, like, I'm not really clear on the logistics of lawn care at the, like, the school, the public school level.
Yeah.
But you start with 11. He traded them in. And I don't know if he traded them in under the guise of, oh, yes, I am doing this as a representative of the public school district. And now as a private citizen with a friends and family discount, I'm going to buy 7 of those back for a little under $6,000, about $5,500, $5,600. And then I'm going to sell them back and try and make about nine grand in profit. To do what? What are you doing with the 2? Are you giving those 2 lawnmowers? Say, hey, the school district's just going to have to get by with 2 lawnmowers now. Sorry, it's going to be Dandelion Central at Akron Central Elementary School. Sorry. What is this guy thinking?
I just don't. How does this guy come up with a scheme? Like, yes, I'm going to do this so they can't. There's going to be a shortage of lawnmowers in the district.
So, like, were they not functioning? Were they not, like, did they need to upgrade? Was the idea that, oh, we're going to upgrade our lawnmowers? He says, bet. I'm going to take these old lawnmowers and I'm going to see if I can't run a little scam, run a little game, and make some money for myself on these lawnmowers. Is that the scam? And then the school district was going to go and buy 11 new lawnmowers as it was. So he's like, all right, well, you know what I see here is a money-making opportunity for me, personally, me. I'm going to go make some money on these mowers.
I don't know.
That's hysterical to me. That wins today.
It does.
Does it beat the original Odd Couple? I kind of think it does. It's so funny.
I think potentially, yeah. 'Cause, like,
it's so stupid.
Yeah, it's like, what are we doing? Like, coming up with a scheme like that's wild. Like the thought of it, like thinking of him trying to devise this plan is actually funny.
The Lawnmower Man is our new champion here on What Is Wrong With You. He'll move on to tomorrow's edition of the show. Spencer's heading out to Hummer Sports Park for some high school football. He'll have the play-by-play call tonight as Topeka High takes on Wichita Southeast, so you'll hear from him later. After this timeout, you'll hear from Rick Peterson of TopSports.news. It is the local sports spotlight, and it's coming up next on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Rick Peterson of TopSports.news for the local sports spotlight. We do it every Thursday on the program, usually at 3:35. Moved it back an hour because of the Royals game today. Pistol covers all things Shawnee County high school sports and Washburn Ichabods for TopSports.news. And he joins us now. And Pistol, looking back at week 2 of the high school football season here in Shawnee County, if there was a result that really jumped off the page to you, what was it?
Well, I, as far as great games, it was probably Rossville coming from behind to beat St. Mary's 40-34. You know, Rossville started last year 0-3 before catching fire, and this year they've avenged 2 of those losses. Now they get a really tough test against Nemaha Central on tomorrow night.
Yeah, that will be a tough one for sure. But last year, it was Rossville didn't get the breaks in those close games early in the season and ended up starting 0-3. But this year, they're finding ways to win those close games. Won the war on 24 in overtime, win over St. Mary's in the final minute. And I got to believe this serves real notice early on in the season that the Derek Thomas coach Rossville Bulldogs are a legitimate 1A threat.
Yeah, and the other outcome that it must have been a heck of a game was Washburn Rural pulling out that 31-30 win over Blue Valley. Again, avenging a loss from the year before.
And the Junior Blues are 2-0 as a result of that one. And we can start there with Washburn Rural because they've got a huge test tomorrow night as we start looking ahead to week 3. To put it mildly, they're playing, I think they're the 2-time defending state champion in their class in Missouri, Platte County. They've got a bunch of kids with Division I offers, and they look to be the beasts of that class again in the state of Missouri. This is one of those where, you know, the result may not go Washburn Rural's way, but if they can stand in the middle of the ring and trade blows with this Platte County program, that's going to say a lot about the progress Steve Bueller's team has made.
Yeah, and a year ago they gave them one of their toughest games of the year, and you know, they went on and went 14-0, and like you said, won the state title. They're just, you know, really routing people to start this year. They got one more game under their belts in Missouri. They've already played 3. So, yeah, it will be tough. I think Washburn Rural wants to show what they can do and also, you know, stay healthy because we're coming up on the Centennial League race.
Rick Peterson, our guest from TopSports.news. This is the local sports spotlight on 580 Sports Talk. Pistol checks in with us every Thursday here on the show. Looking around at some other week 3 games. You mentioned Rossville, Nemaha Central. Nemaha Central, of course, the state runners up last year, and they scored a very impressive win over Silver Lake. Really controlled that game from start to finish last week. This is another one where, again, Rossville stepping up a class, playing a 2A team as a 1A team, but that's not going to bother the Bulldogs at all. They're coming to rumble in that one, and I am, again, fascinated to see how that one turns out, where how competitive it is, because last year's game, again, went down to the final minute, I believe.
Yeah, and if it's a little bit like Washburn Rural. If Rossville plays well, and because, you know, they're coming up on district play, and so they want to go in with some momentum, and they'll definitely have their work cut out for it. But most of the time, Derek Thomas's teams are very competitive.
No question about that. Looking ahead to some other games in the area this week for week number 3. We talk about tonight's game because we're going to have it right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Topeka High and Wichita Southeast. Trojans going for a second consecutive 3-0 start. They had to come from behind and withstand a late rally from Wichita Heights to win on the road last week and go to 2-0. And this is a program that had fallen on some tough times the previous couple of years. Jason Philbeck trying to bring that program back. And a big part of restoring a program is restoring their confidence. And winning does that. And the way that they won that game against Wichita Heights suggests to me it's a program whose confidence is growing.
Yes, and that's what, Jason wants to continue building that confidence because he won't be satisfied until they're competitive in the Centennial League. Remember last year they go 4-0, and then with a win over Emporia was their only league win, and then lost 5 to end the season. He wants to get where they feel like they're really competitive in the league. And like you said, a game like last week, they need to take care of business tonight, but I think they are gaining some confidence, and I think they can be competitive in the league.
To Friday night's games, Shawnee Heights has a big test going to Baser Linwood. Shawnee Heights put up 76 points in their win over Topeka West last Friday night, even up their record at 1-1. And they're a team that they absolutely know their identity on offense, and they're confident on that side of the ball. Still trying to grow into it a little bit, it seems like, on the defensive side. And Baser's kind of team that's going to make you grow up in a hurry.
Yes, and if you remember last year, that was a real shootout with the T-Birds and the Bobcats, and Baser won, but just a few points, and I think both teams scored in the 40s, if I remember right. So it's you're right, and Jason knows that. He knows they can score, but you got to keep the other team from scoring. So I think they will probably be trying to shore up that defense as they move forward.
Rick Peterson is our guest from TopSports.news on the local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Our Friday night 580 Preps game of the week, which you'll be able to hear on our sister station, Country 106.9 tomorrow night. More United Kansas Conference action, pair of 0-2 teams as Seaman takes on Topeka West. I want to ask you about Topeka West first, Pistol, because they scored 35 in that loss to Shawnee Heights, and obviously, yes, that wasn't good enough to win. Their defense has struggled. They're very young on the defensive side of the ball. But I'm watching that Topeka West team last week, and that is as good on offense as I've seen the Topeka West team look since I can recall. And I've been covering high school sports in the city since 2016. So there are definitely some strides being made by Trey Parker's team, even if the results, the wins and the losses, aren't showing that yet.
Yeah, and I've said it before on multiple occasions. I really like what Trey Parker's doing. I know that they're making progress. They're in just a very, very competitive league. I mean, a real tough league. If they were in another league like, say, the Meadowlark, they'd be a contender. So it's just they got to take a little bit slower progress, but I think they're going to get there.
Seaman is their opponent tomorrow night. They are also 0-2, dealing with the early season loss of standout running back Caden McKinney to an injury. McKinney is hopeful to return by the end of the season per his own social media accounts. But that's a tough loss to try and withstand. He was one of the best running backs in Class 5A. They lost last week to a really good Shawnee Mission East team. I think they've got an opportunity to bounce back on Friday night. I think Jared Swafford's been really pleased with the way his team has given their effort, even if, again, the wins and the losses haven't reflected it yet. And I think he believes better days are ahead for the Vikings.
I do, too. I think they're going to be fine. They lost so much last year. Some 3 right off the bat, Shrine Bowl selections, offensive and defensive players of the year on both sides of the ball. And but I like them. I enjoyed that game last week. East is good, and they were fun to watch. But I think Seaman's going to be fine. Again, they'll have to get through some tough battles in the UKC, but I think they're going to be good.
Rick Peterson joining us here on 580 Sports Talk for the local sports spotlight. Aside from the gridiron, Pistol, what will you be looking towards or looking forward to covering this weekend in the local high school sports scene?
Well, we got a great cross-country meet out at Washburn Rural. It's named in honor of former coach Scott Scheffelberger, and he could be there this week. A bunch of really good teams and a bunch of city talent out at that meet. And then, already next week we got city golf on Monday. We got city tennis next Thursday. we're going in a hurry.
Let's get a quick preview then of City Golf, because that will have happened before we get the chance to talk to you next. It certainly seems like, Washburn Rural's been a dominant force in City Golf for many years. Hayden's got the back-to-back state titles. Seaman, though, a program that has had some good teams and some good individual players of late. They might be loaded for bear, and I know at least one area coach thinks they are the team to beat at City Golf.
Well, they have to be up there because Elise Eckert gives them one of the state's best right off the bat. 3-time 5A medalist for Emporia. Her family moved to Topeka, and she's really good, and she'll be one of the contenders for the individual title as well as helping Seaman challenge for the team title.
Our guest again is Rick Peterson of TopSports.news, joining us here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline for the local sports spotlight. Let's pivot to Washburn athletics here, Pistol, to wrap things up. Great start to the year for Ichabod volleyball. They're up to number 9 in the country, heading out to Warrensburg and the University of Central Missouri for a tournament beginning on Friday. What's been the key so far to the success for Chris Herron's bunch?
Well, they're good, and they're deep, and they're experienced. But if you ask for one player, and I just posted a story about her a while ago, Austin Brody's just been, she was the MVP in the tournament last week, and she's just killing the ball. And they're just deep all around. They're 8-0 going into that Central Missouri tournament, dominated their tournament, and they really think they got a chance to make some noise, not only in the MIAA, but in the NCAA.
Did you get a chance to go check them out in their home matches at Whiting Auditorium? First time they've played any games there since the 80s, I believe?
I did. And it was different, but it was homey. I mean, you're pretty tight in there, but I enjoyed it, and it sure didn't seem to hurt their performance at all. And the fans are there; they're close, so it's going to get loud in some of those MIAA matches. And yeah, it was cool. And I keep looking in almost every week at the Lee Arena, and when it does get done, it's going to be a heck of a arena for both basketball and volleyball. Yeah, I can't wait for the reopening of Lee Arena for sure. One last Washburn question. Football back in action. They're on the road Saturday against the University of Central Oklahoma in Edmond, coming off a 41-27 loss at Colorado Mines last Saturday in that lightning-delayed marathon. But the hope certainly, Pistol, is that they found something on offense last week. Yeah, and talking to Zach yesterday, Zach Watkins, he loves the way they're fighting. And as long as you keep fighting and keep progressing, you're going to make some noise. They're just in a really tough part of the schedule right now. And like Zach said yesterday, every week's pretty much like that in the MIAA. But they never give up, which Zach is very proud of. And it's again, they're kind of young in some positions. They've had some injuries, particularly in the offensive line. But if they can play with Central Oak, which was picked to win the conference, that would be a big step forward.
Rick Peterson covers it all at TopSports.news, Shawnee County High School sports, and the Washburn Ichabods. Make it a daily part of your internet and reading routine, TopSports.news. Pistol joins us every Thursday for the local sports spotlight. Always a pleasure, Pistol. We'll do it again next week.
I'll see you tonight.
Sounds good. We'll see you over there. That is Rick Peterson. We will take a short time out, come back, and wrap up this 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up this 4 o'clock hour on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero with you. We got 2 high school football games coming your way this week 3 of the high school football season. Tonight here on 580 and FM 104.9, Topeka High and Wichita Southeast. Pre-game coverage follows 580 Sports Talk. Overtime kickoff at 7 from Hummer Sports Park tonight. Then tomorrow night, we're right back at Hummer for our 580 Preps game of the week. Topeka West hosting Seaman. I'll have the call. Greg Akagi up in the booth with me. Spencer Dupuis down on the sideline. Be the first time we have the whole crew on hand for a 580 Preps game of the week. That game will be on our sister station, Country 106.9. We'll go live at about 6:40 with pregame coverage tomorrow. Of course, High School Football Scoreboard Show airs Friday night here from the Kansas Information Network on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. That will follow Royals baseball. Royals open their final home series of the season tomorrow night. Toronto Blue Jays are in town. Was hoping this one was going to mean something. Instead, the Royals' elimination number, tragic number, is down to just 2. But the Salvador Perez bobblehead night, it'll still be a fun night to be out at the ballpark. And I'd like to send one of you, 2 of you, I suppose, to Friday night's game. I have a pair of tickets for Friday night at the K, Royals, Blue Jays. Maybe one last chance to see the boys in blue for this season in 2025. And I want caller number 4 to 785-272-9429. Caller number 4 to 785-272-9429. You're going to the K on Friday night. That's tomorrow night. One more hour, 580 Sports Talk. It's next. Let's get it. Final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday. My name is Dan Lucero, solo for this final hour here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color, our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, our Facebook page, WIBW News. However, wherever, whenever you're catching the program today, we appreciate you being a part of the 580 Sports Talk audience. I say wherever. Shout out to our ticket winner. Gave away a pair of tickets to the Royals tomorrow night at the Cave. Start the final homestand of the season. Our ticket winner from Clay Center. So a hello to our Clay Center listeners. I should just shout out. What I should do is every day on the show, I might start doing this for real. I might start doing this. I might just look at a map of the state of Kansas. I might just pick a town, a city in Kansas, and say hello to our listeners in, I don't know, like Halstead, or hello to our Mound Ridge listeners today, or hello to our listeners today in Delia, something like that. You know, like no town or township too small, right? And then, I don't know, have everybody who is listening from there, if somebody can prove that they're listening from there, then I don't know. You can tell I'm workshopping this as we go, right? Like, I just, I get a kick out of sometimes, we have people call in and they win tickets. And, a lot of times it's folks from right here in the capital city of Kansas, but just as often it's folks from Silver Lake or folks from Clay Center or folks from, Augusta. I think we've given away tickets to folks from Augusta, Kansas, folks even further out than that. So, we know these voices carry on the Sports Voice of Kansas. We don't call ourselves that lightly, after all. So always enjoy hearing from folks who are listening outside of the area of visibility that we have here up on Huntoon Hill. So wherever you're listening from, we sure do appreciate you tuning in. We got one more hour of the show today, and then we're going to do a little 580 Sports Talk overtime. We'll re-rack Rick Peterson of TopSports.news in case you missed that. We'll also bring you some podium audio from earlier today. Both Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy spoke with the media at One Arrowhead Drive. Interesting to hear both of them discussing what on their side of the ball hasn't quite been up to par for the 0-2 Chiefs as they get set to take on the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium this coming Sunday night. Game you'll hear right here. You don't have to go hunting for it. It's not on one of our sister stations. The Royals game is during the day and the Chiefs are at night. So we will have the Chiefs right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 on Sunday night when they take on the Giants, the 6 o'clock pregame, the 7:20 primetime kickoff. Of course, Mitch Holthus will have the call. And speaking of Mitch, he's going to join me here in about 15 minutes. And I should be honest with you folks. He actually joined me earlier today. He had a flight to catch. So we recorded with Mitch Holthus today. But you're still going to hear from Mitch. And it's not, something that he sent in that's pre-recorded. And look, anything we get from Mitch, anytime we get to hear those golden pipes, it's appreciated. But I ran down Mitchell earlier today, so we're going to play that conversation for you at 5:25. That's the usual time he joins us. We're not going to deviate from that. It's just a pre-recorded conversation. I'll just be honest with you folks. That's what's happening. So, transparency. You can do theater of the mind here. I could have pretended. I didn't have to say anything, but I felt like it was for the best that I let you know, just in case anything that we talked about. And I don't think so. I think it's a pretty evergreen conversation. I don't think anything we talked about is no longer valid for whatever reason. So, but that conversation with Mitch Holthus is coming up in about 15 minutes here on 580 Sports Talk. And we'll talk a little bit more about that Chiefs-Giants game. Xavier Worthy, again, a limited participant in practice today. The Chiefs really need him to beat the Giants. They shouldn't, right? We'll gnaw on that a little bit later on this hour. Still want to hear from you. The text line is open. 785-272-9429 is the number. That is 785-272-9429. Can also interact in the live chat on YouTube. Always a lively place over on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Hello to all of our chatters today. It's good to hear from you guys. I don't think I shouted everybody out at the top of the show like I usually do, and that's my bad. Hello to Vance, and the Jayhawker, Mark B. and Mark H. are in. Andrew's in as well today. Appreciate all of you. Saw Christopher earlier on in the show as well. Great to see you guys. Great to hear from you all. Look forward to hearing from more of you here in this final hour of 580 Sports Talk. We begin this final hour, as we always do, with our headlines. We got some, significant headlines to talk about today. We'll start with the injury report, the participation report for Chiefs Giants. Not a lot is different for the Chiefs today from Wednesday's report. Mike Dana, Christian Fulton held out of practice for a second straight day, both trending towards missing Sunday night. Dana with a quad injury, Fulton with an ankle injury. Jalen Royals upgraded from a limited participant in practice to a full participant. Could be seeing the 2025 draft pick out of Utah State, trending towards making his NFL debut this coming Sunday night. Xavier Worthy, a limited participant for a second consecutive day as he works back from that dislocated shoulder. Josh Simmons upgraded to a full participant today. He was sick on Wednesday and so was limited, but he was a full participant today. Jawan Taylor was downgraded today. He was a full participant Wednesday. He was limited today. But that, my understanding from multiple Chiefs beat writers, is that was a function of the practice moving inside to the turf in the indoor facility and wanting to go easy on the knee and ankle injuries for Jawan Taylor. They didn't want him practicing on the turf indoors, so they held him out of that portion of practice once they had to move it indoors. So it's not anything to be significantly concerned about, it sounds like. He was a limited participant today, however. Rest of the entries on the participation report were all full participants for a second straight day. Hollywood Brown, Ashton Gelati, Patrick Mahomes, Charles Omenihu, and Drew Tranquil. Only one change on the Giants participation report. Linebacker Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, who was a DNP on Wednesday with a calf injury, returned to practice on a limited basis today. His fellow linebackers, Chauncey Golston and Darius Muasau, did not practice for a second consecutive day. These players were limited for a second consecutive day. Wide receivers, Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, Gunnar Olszewski, running back Tyrone Tracy, offensive linemen John Runyon, John Michael Schmitz, and Andrew Thomas, and defensive lineman Rakeem Nunez-Roches. Roy Robertson-Harris, defensive lineman, and running back Cam Scadaboo were full participants for a second consecutive day. So those are your participation report updates for the Chiefs and the Giants for Sunday Night Football. Next headline. This is a doozy. Looks like KU football is going international. There are wide-ranging reports, though it is not a done deal. It has not been formally announced by either institution in question. But it sure sounds like Kansas and Arizona are going to play a conference game next year at Wembley Stadium in London, England on September 19th, part of what is scheduled to be a multi-year college football event at the most famous sporting venue in England. The Union Jack Classic is the name of the event. Also sounds like something I ordered at the Jack in the Box once. But September 19th, next year, Kansas and Arizona. That is widely reported but not confirmed at this point. I think you can assume there's just some I's to dot and T's to cross before both Kansas and Arizona do end up making that report official. And in fact, I'll double check and see if I missed anything there. But it's Arizona State. My mistake. I left out important clarification. Arizona State, not Arizona, that would play the game. It would be a conference game. It would take place September 19th. Wembley Stadium, by the way, seats 90,000 people. If you're unfamiliar with the sporting culture in the country of England, that's the stadium. That's where all the major soccer matches are played. It's the home stadium for England's national soccer sides. 90,000 people. It's the stadium. It's the venue. I just want to know how it is that Kansas could look just like an hour and a half down I-70 at their in-state rivals football program who gave up a home game to play overseas and may have torpedoed their entire season as a result and said to themselves, that sounds like a good idea. Let's sign up for that. Only instead of at least having the advantage of having our game be a marquee game in week 0 to open the college football season, let's just make it a forgettable week 4 game that maybe nobody will watch because it'll be on at the same time as like Georgia and Tennessee or some other marquee SEC or Big Ten game being played on a campus site in the States. This is not a good idea for Kansas and Arizona State to do. If you're going to do it, the time to do it is week 0, right? You do it early. And honest to goodness, like, certainly I think Kansas State would have a different perspective on this, but like, you want to do it and then you want to buy. Like, you want to do it week 0 and then you don't want to play week 1. I think that might be, I would be trying to make that conditional if I were going out to the Aer Lingus Classic there in Dublin in the future. Theoretically speaking, you could have a bye on either side of that September 19th Saturday. You could not play the week of, you could not, or the week before and not play the week after and play in week 0. So you would get 3 regular season byes. But still, I don't like it. I don't think this is the kind of thing that really benefits your program. I think there are cautionary tales that abound that the Ireland trip's a great experience, cultural experience for your players, great cultural experience for your fans. But like, the whole thing behind doing the Ireland game is it's the first game. You get that first mover advantage. Your game is the first one, effectively, of the college football season. So you get that spotlight on your program. Doing it September 19th. Like, it'd be one thing if this was going to be a week 0 conference game. I'd be like, yeah, go for it. Knock yourself out. See if you can't get a bye week 1 or week 2. You don't want to play a bunch of games early. And oh, by the way, yeah, when you come back the week of, coming back from England, the week after that, don't play a service academy or an FCS team from the Dakotas. Don't do that. That's dumb. That's what I would say. Just, based on recent evidence, recent events. But I really don't like the idea of having it be in the middle of September. Because then you have to burn 2 bye weeks back to back, again, theoretically. But you don't get that spotlight. It's just another game on the broader college football schedule. Good for the universities, I suppose. Certainly good for the fans. I mean, you might be really excited if you're a KU fan today, the thought of going to historic Wembley Stadium to see your program play a game. That's once in a lifetime, no doubt about it. But the logistics of it and the cautionary tales, for me, that would be enough to say, find another Big 12 team to go out there. We could take our kids to London for a different reason. Do a week of spring practice in London. Do study abroad. Don't go play out there. I wonder if Gene Taylor called Travis Goff. And listen, these are the things I would do differently if I could do it over again. If you do this, which, again, doesn't sound like anything's been signed on the dotted line, but it is being widely reported that is the plan for the Big 12 to hold a conference game between Kansas and Arizona State September 19th next season at Wembley Stadium. And again, that would be KU giving up a home game. So how you feel about that, if you're a KU fan, is how you feel about that. Like, sometimes you're willing to give that up if you're able to make the trip to Wembley Stadium in London. If you're not as able to make that trip in the middle of September, then you maybe feel a little bit differently about it. But I'm not going to tell you how to feel about it. One more headline for the world of sports to get to. It has been announced by the Los Angeles Dodgers that their legendary left-handed pitcher, Clayton Kershaw, will announce today that the 2025 season will be his last. He will make his final Dodger Stadium regular season start on Friday. And the Dodgers, of course, expected to play in the postseason, though they have not officially wrapped up a playoff berth, which will give Kershaw one last chance to choke in the playoffs. I'd be remiss as a Dodger hater if I did not mention that. But what a career for Clayton Kershaw. Just to give you an idea, because he is only going to make one more or two more regular season starts, he is going to finish his career with over 200 wins and less than 100 losses. His career record in 18 seasons stands at 222 wins and 96 losses. The last two major league players to retire with over 200 wins and less than 100 losses both played so long ago that pitchers didn't pitch from a mound. Seriously. They pitched so long ago that pitchers did not pitch off of a mound in the 1800s. That's what Clayton Kershaw accomplished. 3 times a Cy Young Award winner in 2011, 2013, and 2014. Also won the National League MVP that season. Led the National League in ERA 4 times, in wins 3 times, in strikeouts 3 times, in innings once, in starts twice. Even this year, with his arm mostly shot, in 20 starts, he's managed to go 10-2 with a 3.53 ERA. One of the all-time greats, and yes, his playoff record was less than stellar, as I alluded to, but you're talking about one of the absolute greats to ever do it. He is not just a Hall of Famer on the first ballot. He is an inner circle Hall of Famer, and this is how you know he was great. He was largely hater-proof from somebody like me who rooted for a team in his division, watched him dominate my team, watched him no-hit my team, in fact. Couldn't hate Clayton Kershaw. Too brilliant. Too much of a master on the mound. One of the all-time best. And they don't make a lot more. Like, there aren't a lot more Clayton Kershaws kicking around out there. True frontline, every 5 days, 200-inning aces. They don't make those guys anymore. So, tip of the cap, Clayton Kershaw as he announces his retirement. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk to Mitch Holthus next here on 580 Sports Talk. Every Thursday during the NFL season, we're joined by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. His appearances on 580 Sports Talk are brought to us by Hy-Vee, your official tailgate headquarters for Kansas City Chiefs football. And by Azure Credit Union. Contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Naseem Khan about the credit union advantage for your next home loan. Mitch is headed out to West Point. He's going to spend a couple of days checking things out at Army, West Point. Going to go see the football game there on Saturday, too. So he had an earlier flight than usual this week. So he is unable to join us live today, but I caught up with him earlier today to break down the Chiefs, where they stand after their 0-2 start, and how things look going into their matchup against the New York Giants this coming Sunday. So without any further ado, here is that conversation with the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. Mitch, not the happiest of tidings when you're dealing with an 0-2 start for the Chiefs, but it sort of feels like through two games, the Chiefs are kind of living the way that the Chiefs' opponents have lived the last couple of years, where they come away from games feeling like they've done some things that have been good enough to win, just not enough of those things, and they haven't been able to put their offense in position to go out and get that winning score. They have not been able to finish those close games in the way that they were so readily and spectacularly able to do last season.
Yeah, well stated. We're not used to being 0-2. First time since 2014. That's been off-quoted. But the Charger game felt like 0-1, but the Eagles game did not feel like 0-2, especially the way the defense played to hold Philadelphia to their lowest output since Week 6 of 2021. And the game just boiled down to, and this is to your point, the three critical moments where the Chiefs miss a 58-yard field goal, and that allows a short 52-yard field for a touchdown. Well, there's 7. Chiefs go for it on 4th and 1 at their own 36 early in the third quarter. Don't make it. That 3, because you get a 3 and out. That was a great stop. And then the 14-point swing where Kelsey's dropped that ends up being an interception. 7 you don't get, and 7 that leads to, because you ran it out to midfield. Good thing Josh Simmons chased him down. But those are, you start looking at that in a reality standpoint, and that's basically like 24 points. And so on 3 plays. And that's just the tipping point when you get two good teams. And the NFL right now overall is boiling down to just such a thin margin that was enough for a really good team like the Eagles to win and the Chiefs to lose.
You mentioned the defensive performance, and it was a good one. It was a championship-level defensive performance on Sunday at Arrowhead Stadium. And I think the most encouraging thing that I felt like I saw was the contributions of some of the first-year players. The rookies really put their stamp on the game. Noel Williams had some really good moments in coverage. Omar Norman-Lott, his first career sack. Ashton Gelati, I thought, played a good game on that side of the ball. Where do you think the Chiefs come away from that defensive performance feeling like they have something to build on and grow on for future weeks?
Well, they were very aggressive in that game. They blitzed 64% of the time, which was, and their blitz rate so far is second in the NFL to Denver, ironically, or interestingly. I didn't think Denver would blitz that much, but they are this year. But the point is they did it with discipline. They blitzed with discipline, and they stayed in their lanes. It wasn't the Charger game. And you're right. To get Omar Norman-Lott to make the play he made on Jalen Hurts, Ashton Gelati had a really good game. Noel Williams made the defensive play not only on the sideline, he's quickly becoming one of the better special teams players. And so the rookie class stepped up. I love this rookie class. You know I do, and talked about them every day almost on our training camp reports with you. But they were playing at a winning level on Sunday. Now you just have to be consistent and do it again with the defensive young guys, because you could argue the strongest point of New York's game is their deep passing game, especially with Malik Neighbors. So there's a challenge there, but it was good to see the young guys emerge. And I think defensively, it was a excellent game for the most part, a winning performance for the most part.
Voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. Offensively, through these first two games, the Chiefs have really come out of the gate slowly. And it was understandable in week 1 that the early loss of Xavier Worthy definitely threw a wrench into the gears of the Chiefs offense. But again, against Philadelphia, it was a slow start, and the Chiefs in particular have really struggled on early downs early in the game. It's setting themselves up in some difficult third downs. They've gotten better on those early downs as the games have gone on. What needs to get better, or maybe what needs to change with some of the scripted plays early in games that will give the Chiefs a chance to sustain earlier drives and maybe throw the first punch in the game instead of playing from behind?
Well, one of your first nuggets of the night is the fact that you're right, and especially not only early downs early in games, the Chiefs have only led for 2 minutes and 44 seconds. That's 31st in the league. The only team that has led less time in the first 2 weeks, the Carolina Panthers, and they're at 0.00, and that'll get you kicked out of school. So a 2.44 is not a very good GPA either. So it's a matter of being early on games, early on downs, early on series. The run game has got to be much better. That's not anything it's a nuclear physicist has to come up with, but it's in the runs and the way they run the ball. The fact that they have had so many counters and long developing runs, 4 yards is a win in the NFL. It's a win in most levels of football on a run. If you just said, all right, we're going to commit to this series of downs, we're just going to run the ball, and you said we're going to get 4 yards each time, that's a first down by 2 yards. It's almost like you want to get to that a second and just go straight ahead. Don't run the counters and the counter leads and the chair, setting the chair draws, and that stuff's all taking a little too much time. And that 1/2 second or second is enough for the defense to make the plays. So I just think the run game, the kind of runs they're running, who's running it, and how they're running it is where you start.
The defensive side of the ball, the defensive aspect that hasn't maybe been what the Chiefs would have expected through 2 weeks has been their 4-man pass rush. Now, you talked about earlier, they were very aggressive, sending blitzes at Jalen Hurts, and history has suggested that's the way you beat Jalen Hurts is you blitz him, and they limited him to just over 100-yard passing, so they certainly had success, and the Chiefs have good blitzers at linebacker and defensive back, and Steve Spagnuolo's a wizard at drawing those things up. We know that. That's a strategy that can work for the Chiefs, but winning with a 4-man pass rush has been something that the Chiefs have been able to count on as well, and that hasn't happened in the first 2 weeks. Is that a thing where it's a bit of a look-in-the-mirror situation for the veterans on that defensive line, knowing that they've got to get more push and they've got to do more to impact the game moving forward?
Yeah, I'm stunned by it, actually, because it was one of the most encouraging things I saw coming out of training camp. When I saw, and I mentioned this to you guys several times, with Amenahu, Chris Jones, Karlaftis, even they could play Chanel up there. They had a group that was really hard to block, and I haven't seen that yet in the regular season. And not that I haven't seen that those guys have been out there. They're just not, it's not happening. And you've got a chance to do it this week. This will be one of the weaker offensive lines the Chiefs will play all season long. Now, the Giants have strength, and they have some strength in areas that it's good enough to beat you, but it's not the offensive line. And when they played Russell Wilson, Russell likes to do the 5 and 7 step drop and wait on it, and throw the ball deep, because one of the nuggets of the night, too, is his 7 deep ball throws for 264 yards last week against Dallas was the best performance on deep ball throwing by a quarterback in 9 years. But that takes time. And he loves to go 5 and 7 steps. Now, Russell Wilson, this will be the 4th jersey he'll wear against the Chiefs in his career. The other 3 times combined, the Chiefs have sacked him 30 times in 7 games. So do the math. That ends up being 3 or 4 a game. You've got that chance again because the Giants offensive line is struggling. And they even fired the guy in the middle of the drive last week, like we did with Suamatia last year, because Hudson, the left tackle, got pulled out. Now Embo's going over there to play. He's not bad, the rookie out of Purdue. But still, you've got a chance with a 4-man rush to wreak some havoc. If you're going to do it, this is the week to do it.
We're talking to Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joining us as he does every Thursday, courtesy of our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union here on 580 Sports Talk. I'm glad you brought up the history that the Chiefs have against Russell Wilson, particularly the recent history, having seen him last year when he was with Pittsburgh, and then having seen him twice a year for a couple of seasons there in his ill-fated venture to the Rocky Mountains and his time with the Broncos. How much do you think that helps a team having familiarity against a quarterback? It may not be the same offense and the same personnel around him, But Russell Wilson plays the way Russell Wilson plays. And I think that has been true about Russ his entire career, that you can change the personnel around him and you can change the play caller, but Russell Wilson is still going to do the Russell Wilson stuff. How much do you think that benefits the defense going up against a quarterback that they have that kind of familiarity with?
Yeah, especially a guy like Chris Jones or Nick Bolton, who's seen him a whole lot, where they know his tendencies. They know, if his eyes move this way, he does this certain thing. That's the way the NFL is. It's so intricate, and you don't want to be predictable. But he, release point, where does he bail out when he bails out? What's his instinct? Where does he go? And so, yeah, I think all of that and the fact that we're very familiar with him it's almost like you're playing a division quarterback, which he was in our division for a while. But playing an NFC quarterback, you don't get that feel always. You do with Jalen Hurts because we played him a lot in recent years. But you also get it with Russell Wilson this week because you played him a whole lot. I mean, this will be the 8th time you played him. So, yeah, he's got some tendencies, and you got to attack those. Now, he's got some dudes around him because Malik Neighbors is a stud. And he can just throw it up there, jump ball like we got beat last week on the play to Devontae Smith with Trent McDuffie. He'll do that. They're just going to throw an alley-oop and hope their guy gets it. And their guy Neighbors would usually get it because he's good.
Defensively for the Giants, I thought that was the unit that was really going to carry them. But through 2 weeks, it's been anything but that. They're dead last in the league, I believe, in total defense, and one of the worst teams in the league in total rushing defense in particular, which is very strange considering the talent, the loaded group of defensive linemen they have. Dexter Lawrence, one of the best in the game. I know he's dealt with some injuries, but they've got the rookie Abdul Carter. They've got Kayvon Thibodeau. They got Brian Burns. Really good up front, and another test for this Chiefs offensive line, but it looks like they might have some weaknesses maybe against the run. And how do the Chiefs look to exploit what have been the early season difficulties for this Giants defense?
Well, and they are dead last against the run, and they have just missed a gob of tackles. They had the most missed tackles of any team in the league in the first 2 weeks. Now, what's interesting is they had 21 pressures against Dallas last week, which was by far the most in the league. And so that means they got the most pressures in the first 2 weeks of any NFL team, but they're last in rushing. So it's just really weird. You put you mentioned the players that are outstanding on the front. I've always loved Burns. I think he's really underrated. I loved him as a Carolina Panther. And when he was in free agency, it was like, ooh, yeah. So, but he's a New York Giant, and all the guys you mentioned, you've already laid out there. And then to get Abdul Carter in the draft, who fell to him at 3, was a godsend for them. Where their struggle is in their secondary. They are just getting punished back there. And their nickelback has been burned 12 times in 2 weeks. It's by far the most in the league. Now, the linebacking core is like Okereke, I've always liked when he was a Colt, but he's not playing the greatest. They're missing a lot of tackles. So, again, running the ball, how you run it, if you wait and run counters and this misdirection stuff, when they're not even falling for your misdirection, then it takes misdirection's secret away, and it gives those guys just one more count to make the play. So sometimes you just run right at pass rushers, and then you can play pass off that. But you do have a chance to get some big plays on the back end because the secondary of the Giants is trying to figure it out.
All right, Mitch Holthus, voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. As we wrap up here, let's empty the notebook of nuggets and give us some numbers that we'll be watching for on Sunday night as the Chiefs try to get that first win of the season at MetLife Stadium.
Well, the good thing for the Chiefs is they've had 44 30-plus pass plays. They only had 16 all of last year in 17 weeks. So that's a good sign, and you don't even have all your dudes. And so there's some of that's coming back, and we've seen the big hits going. But the biggest nugget of the night, and I had to look at this, and I put this on social earlier in the week, but I had to look at it like 5 or 6 times. Like, is that right? Then you got somebody else go, hey, check this out, because I think this is what and I mentioned it on your air Monday night on the Chiefs Kingdom show with Pat Mahomes, because he was the 1 week we get him and special show at the Hall of Honor. I go, Pat, you love challenges. I'm going to give you a big one. And that is the fact the Chiefs have never beaten the Giants on the road. Ever. There's 31 teams in the league other than the Chiefs. The Chiefs have beaten 30 of the 31 on the road in their history. This is the only team. So he looks at me like, I don't think that's right. He gave me that look. Then he started to think about it. And then he goes, well, wait a minute. In 17, we were there, and that was the year I was setting out. and we were awful, right? I said, yeah, the top 4 Giant receivers were down on the inactive list, and they still beat us 12-9. He goes, is that Kelsey threw an interception? Yeah, Kelsey threw an interception.
Yep.
He goes, okay. And then he quit talking about it, and all he did was like stare at the light for a second. I go, good. I got him where I want him, which is we're going to go do something that's never been done. So going 1-2 is paramount, but also to put just a little bit of gravy on the potatoes makes it a little extra to go, hey, we just won in New York. Nobody's ever won here. Let's do it.
Mitch Holthus is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. You'll hear his call on the Chiefs Radio Network Sunday night right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. He joins us thanks to our sponsors of the Zurich Credit Union and Hy-Vee every Thursday on 580 Sports Talk. Mitch, it is a pleasure as always. Enjoy New York. Come back with a win, and we'll talk next week.
Yeah, you got it. Actually, I'm headed to West Point. I'll be on post tomorrow, and then Saturday morning I'll be at the West Point game against North Texas. And so we'll enjoy that, and then we'll drive down to our team hotel and get there about the time the team arrives. So I'm doing a little bit something extra here. Tomorrow I'll be on post at West Point.
Hey, enjoy that. That's very cool. That'll be a cool I'm sure you've been there for a game, haven't you?
I have been one time in 2017 when we beat New England on the Thursday night game to open the year. My friends at West Point invited me, said, you have to fly back right away. I said, nope, coming. So I was there. I've done it once before, but I've got friends that have invited us back, and, you know, I'm a K-Stater. So yeah, I don't know if their quarterback's going to run 41 times on Saturday like he did against K-State, but it's the whole experience.
Yeah.
To see young women and men. Yeah. You've probably been there, but to see young women and men, and then the parade that we'll have Saturday morning with half the corps, we'll be on parade before the game. And dude, it's just awesome, man. And you just say a prayer of thanks for women and men who are willing to work that hard for our country.
Yeah, I've been to Air Force Academy games in Colorado Springs, but Army and Navy, that's on my bucket list for sure to get out to one of those. Mitch,
you got it.
It is a pleasure. Thanks so much. We'll talk next week. That was Mitch Holthus, our conversation from earlier today. And Mitch getting on that plane to get out to West Point, check out some Army football for the weekend. Little pleasure trip before the business trip, and calling the Chiefs game against the Giants in New Jersey on Sunday night. Mitch Holthus's appearances on 580 Sports Talk in English. They are brought to you by Hy-Vee, your official tailgate headquarters for Kansas City Chiefs football, and by Azure Credit Union, where you can contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Naseem Khan about the credit union advantage for your next home loan. We'll talk some more Chiefs when we come back, as we're around in third and heading for home on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Thanks again to Mitch Holthus for his time and his insight, as always, on these Thursday chats that we have throughout the season on 580 Sports Talk. Coming up on the end of the show, but we got overtime coming up. In case you missed our conversation with Rick Peterson of TopSports.news, we'll run that back for you during overtime. And then we'll also play you some Chiefs coordinator audio. Both Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy spoke with the media earlier today. You'll hear from both of them as we go and get you set up for Thursday night 580 Preps football from Hummer Sports Park. Spencer Dupuy's already on site. I'm going to go and join him, and we are going to have high school football tonight, a Thursday night game at Hummer Sports Park. It's actually a scheduled log jam this week. There's a double header tomorrow at Hummer. Highland Park is playing Schlegel at 4 o'clock. And then the night game, the 7 o'clock game, Topeka West and Seaman, well, that's our 580 Preps game of the week over on Country 106.9. So all three teams that play their home games at Hummer have home games scheduled this weekend, which means there's a Thursday night game, and that is Topeka High tonight taking on Wichita Southeast. Kickoff at 7 o'clock. We'll hear from head coach Jason Philbeck during the pregame show. Coaches Club coming tomorrow night here on 580 WIBW following Sports Talk. But we've got high school football coming your way here this evening. No Thursday night football. That means NFL variety. Bills, Dolphins. The spread, last I looked, was 12.5 points. And I know everybody's thinking, the Bills are going to dog walk the Dolphins. The Bills are like 3-8 against the spread as double-digit favorites. In their last 11 times, they've been a double-digit favorite. I kind of like the Dolphins to cover tonight. Thursday nights are always sloppy. No Ed Oliver, which means the Dolphins should be able to come out and run the ball a little bit. I don't know. I think the Dolphins will keep it respectable tonight. They'll lose, but they'll keep it respectable. I really like that line. Take it for what it's worth. I am not the betting expert I used to be. And many of you will rightly retort and say, you never were a gambling expert. And that is correct. I had one really good year picking college games. That's about it. But I kind of like the Dolphins to cover tonight. I like them to cover that big spread. Chiefs and Giants on Sunday night. We mentioned earlier during headlines, Xavier Worthy, a limited participant for a second straight week. And the Chiefs passing game doesn't look the same without him. And his speed and his abilities are missed. With Rashee Rice already suspended, it's even more exacerbated how much they miss Xavier Worthy out there. And would it benefit the Chiefs to have him on Sunday? Absolutely it would. Should they need him to win is a different question. I kind of think the answer to that question is no. And when we were talking just now to Mitch, I thought it was really interesting talking about the ways that the Chiefs running game have struggled, that many of their running game concepts so far this season have been long developing run plays. They've either been RPOs where the decision is made late to leave the ball in the running back's gut, or they've been counter plays that take some time to develop. And as a result, they're not developing. And the holes are closing up, and there's just not anywhere for Isaiah Pacheco or Kareem Hunt to go right now. And the struggles of the running game have been a big surprise. Dan Graziano of ESPN wrote about this yesterday. I don't think we got a chance to talk about it, but he mentioned this in his column yesterday over at ESPN.com. The Chiefs are really surprised that they haven't been able to run the ball effectively. They thought Pacheco was all the way back and that they were going to get some good work out of him here early, and they really haven't. Included in that note was Brashard Smith, and that they're still kind of teaching him the finer points. Remember, he's only been a full-time running back for 1 year prior to entering the NFL. He was a wide receiver, and he converted to running back at SMU. But they think once they really teach him how to play running back, they really like him still. So there's still some faith in Brashard Smith, in case you were wondering. And it was fair to wonder, frankly, because we've barely seen him. But between that note and between talking to Mitch and hearing that about the Chiefs running game and maybe just not putting their running backs in the best position to succeed, maybe a more straightforward rushing attack against a team that through 2 games has given up nearly 6 yards per carry, maybe that will be critical to the Chiefs' success on Sunday night. Again, the burden of proof is on the offensive line and the guys running the ball to make what has been a really non-functional running game work. But there's a path. And I think the path includes simplifying things. And sometimes that's the best thing a team can do for itself. Just simplify. Just go back to power. Go back to dive. Get behind your best center in the league. Get behind your Pro Bowl right guard. And just go straight ahead and hammer away at a defensive front that has really, really struggled against the run. That's how you take the heat off of Patrick Mahomes in the passing game. And that might be how you get to 1-2 on Sunday night, more so than worrying about who's out there at wide receiver. One last time out. We'll come back with a final word to wrap up 580 Sports Talk. Bobble that a little bit, but it happens. It's time for the final word here on 580 Sports Talk, our parting shot as we wrap up this Thursday edition of the show. I'll expand on this more when we get to the end of the Royals season, which we now know certainly is coming following their next 9 games. They've got 3 more at home against Toronto this weekend. They've got 6 on the road at the Angels and the A's, and that will be that. That will be the end of 2025. There will be no return to the American League postseason this year for the Royals. I don't think necessarily this is a story of the Kansas City Royals being a markedly worse baseball team than they were in 2024. I think they were less lucky, which is a thing that happens when you live on the margins, as the Royals kind of do. Let's be honest, they weren't a juggernaut last year and didn't come into this year looking like one either. They look like a team that could win in the mid-80s in games if things fell in their favor, and things did not really fall in their favor. Their big offseason acquisition to help the offense was a bust, and their best starting pitcher only made 11 starts, one of them coming last night with the season a lost cause and it only being a 3 2/3 inning affair. I think that, though, should be more positive for forward thinking for what it can be in 2026. I think they'll go into 2026 in good shape, and I think these last 9 games are still going to be worth watching. I know you tend to check out when your team's out of the playoff chase. Lord knows I'm guilty of this. But the final 9 games are going to be worth watching to see some of these young starting pitchers try to end their seasons on high notes, to see Carter Jensen and Jack Caglione together in the lineup, hitting balls hard, making some noise, see if Michael Massey can continue a strong finish and stake a claim to a lineup spot for next year. Still a lot on the line as the 2025 Royals try and shape out what they're going to look like in 2026. Overtime is next, followed by high school football. This has been 580 Sports Talk. I'm Dan Lucero. Good night.